Okay, good to go, Gaz. You good to go? All right. I am going to start after some crazy technical difficulties, and even my trackpad still. Uh, all right. Aloha, everybody. Just tuning in. Just booting up from crazy chaos. I don't even want to talk about it. All right. Welcome to Matrix Biomechanics Live. I'm your host, Micah Sky. Thanks for joining me, and I'm joined by Greg, the Hydrogen Man. Nice to have you on the show. I'm trying to get my camera to go. It doesn't seem to be wanting to go. There we go. All right. Gonna move it over, move it over. Here we go. Oh, what a day it's been. Such a day. I already taught a 2 hour plus class on the Syncretism Society. So got super prepared, spent hours yesterday getting dialed on OBS to do this awesome broadcast. And let me switch this around too for us and choose. Yeah, let's do these. I like that. That's good. Let's just open this window up so we can see. For goodness sake. All right, there we go. All right. Yes, so got all dialed to be on OBS on Rumble to do our show where we will be in that we were supposed to be in the first part of the show. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Guys, I don't know if is this solar flare stuff? Look at this. I can't let go of this window. There we go. Okay. Trackpad's glitching out. Everything's glitching out. Whole system collapsing. I promise you, my first show today, my first class was so flowing and beautiful because I had a team working behind me to do it. And yes, what can I say? This is what happens when quad right 6-line people try to do technical stuff that's strategic. Honestly, I spent 5 hours trying to get our show dialed all on Rumble. So hopefully everyone from Rumble is finding their way over to us on YouTube for our live. Because yeah, we can't really do a lot of the stuff we were gonna do um, because it'll just get taken down on our YouTube channel. So that's why we do it over on Rumble. And that includes a lot of what the title of this was, disclosure incoming, a lot of health and information stuff that I really want to share that's very relevant and fairly time sensitive with what we're moving into. So I'm going to do a very censored version of it where I'm like super sensitive to all words I say and everything that I'm sharing, and I'll even have to skip past probably um, some of this science. Whoa. Some of the science. So we actually have a science segment where we look at real science because everyone on the left really likes to talk about the science. I think it's more scientism, so I'd like to identify what science actually is. But we're gonna do more of the show, obviously, on the hydrogen, the magic of hydrogen, the holiness of hydrogen. You can't censor that. You can't censor the holiness of hydrogen. And so we're gonna get into that with Greg, and we'll be talking more about that as a focus. But we are gonna get into some of this goodness. Our channel, by the way, is on Telegram for intelligence and news and information. You can screenshot this. It takes you right to it if you want, or it's at all caps MBMT channel. We are updating it generally on the hour. And yeah, so grateful. The Two Frogs in Trouble track that we released. I hope you guys have gotten a chance to hear it. It is circulating. It's on SoundCloud and actually got it to one of the larger anons in the truth community. And Yeah, was super stoked. He listened to him, was like, "Yo, I'm gonna blast this all week, so be ready, neighbors." So it's a powerful tale of the two frogs that get stuck in this pail of milk, and the big frog starts getting exhausted, and yeah, he tries as hard as he can, but then he eventually gives up, and little frog keeps on going and churns the milk to butter, and all of a sudden he's not stuck in the pail, and there's butter beneath his feet, and he earned his freedom by never giving up and having hope. And so much of this world, and all of us have been in this 2 year process of being in the pail of milk, so to speak. So it's a powerful story and metaphysical, depiction of where we all uh, are at in life. We have a choice. Which frog are you going to be, the little frog or the big frog? So in that, it's been awesome. The release movement continues. We've been censored, by the way, on YouTube. I'm going to talk about this because we're on YouTube. So yes, they censored our film because we talked about certain things and you know the pandemic and stuff like that. And yeah, so we cut out that part and put a censored version out, and then we unlisted the films that were getting striked for medical misinformation as they claimed it to be, when we were really just playing medical clips of their own doctors and showing the statistical reports of the CDC and fairs and all that. So um and we removed that and we put the censored version up, and we unlisted the other ones and put the links up so that people could still see them, but they were not public anymore. And they have started giving us strikes for the unlisted ones. Like,
Whoa.
yo, yo, we took this off the public platform. We have literally censored ourselves for you to not strike us. And you gave us on the syncretism a strike for an unlisted video. So I just want everyone to know that's what's going on over here on YuckTube. So um, the censored version, unfortunately, won't get taken down. I'm going to leave the unlisted director's cut that's not public anymore. So I'm not violating any. There's nothing public on there. So if you give me a strike, another one, like I don't know what to say, right? I mean, is that how we're doing it now? Is like I've complied and taken it off the public one and left it the link for my website, which has nothing to do with anything that you guys are doing or representing. It's not public on your on your platform that you're censoring. So you know, um, it's not okay in the bigger picture, because if 30,000 plus people saw this in a week, and you're doing this, imagine how you're blocking a lot of people from seeing this film that's about learning how to heal themselves and activating their inner physician. It's you're trying to block something that's sparked an awakening with people to want to learn how to heal, and it's not okay. So you're not going to stop it, and at the same time, at least play fair. You know what I mean? We unlisted, we complied, and we were creative about how we did it to allow people to still see this and complying with that. So anyways, nonetheless, boom, 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 we got Greg on the show. I'm super stoked. I've been super slammed through a lot of stuff, doing a lot. This was the one we just finished today. So grateful to the Syncretism Society for being a platform we can get a lot of this out, and in such necessary times, truly. um, because many people are actually afraid to heal because their entire identity is centered around the trauma they've experienced. They have no idea what they are outside of that trauma, and the greatest fear is the fear of the unknown. Even if it's the unknown is now you being outside of a pattern of trauma or sickness or fear. So there are, and we go through it each week. There is an ancient lineage of those that are behind so much of this, and their association to even the propaganda to what it is for us to look outside of their narrative looks something like this. This is what they want. This is everyone that's looking outside of the narrative is psychedelic Alex Jones dancing around with some weird headpiece on. It's not the case, folks. Our overall intention is to bring alternative points of observation to you so you can be in this state right here, in the truth, learning spiritual sciences, divine quantum technology, okay? This is the vibe right here. We want you to be in this vibe of truth, right? All right. Come on, Greg.
I'm
This
dancing
is
right
you
now.
on hydrogen. This is you on hydrogen right here.
That looks like the hydrogen molecule dancing around.
Oh man,
You
it's
know, there's a
true, but
reason they call it active hydrogen, by the way. It's
exactly.
incredible.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So in that, let's skip on through the deception down from the stars to you name it, to so much technology they've hidden, and quantum technology, including things like hydrogen, right?
Oh
So
man,
let's talk about it. I mean, we've been bombarded with so much stuff, and told, toxic things were safe throughout history, right? And hydrogen, seriously, right? And
yeah,
hydrogen has been, something that people haven't been informed about, but is so powerful
absolutely.
and so significant, and I feel like it's just really important that we give context to, a lot of these things, is this is also part of the disclosure. So, please, let's dive in.
You know, it's funny because they told us for the longest time we were told that hydrogen is what they call an inert gas, meaning it doesn't do anything for us as far as the body, our health. That's like saying that oxygen does nothing for us. I mean,
Right,
you'll
right,
straight up just drop dead. And of course, leave it up to the Japanese. I really have to commend them because they're the ones who really truly figured out that hydrogen does have a benefit. In fact, the story goes all the way back to a place called, and depending on your pronunciation or how you enunciate this, but Lourdes, France, or what they call Lourdes, France.
right.
Have you ever heard of Lourdes, France?
Hang on, 1 second, brother.
Yeah.
What? Whoa, what's happening right? Oh, I see. Okay, sorry guys. Apparently, see if we get this dialed. Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you
Oh,
hear
I
me?
hear you really loud now.
You hear me? That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, very good. I can hear you.
All right.
Uh, can you guys hear us? Greg, I'm gonna let you start talking. Let's just start talking about stuff, and if they can hear, they can. Awesome. If not, is what it is. Brown's
If not,
gas.
okay. So if it's just us, it's just us.
Yep.
We just talking to each other here.
I mean, we already said we were gonna do this anyway. We're already doing this on the phone before, so might as well.
So yeah, Brown's gas is not actually pure hydrogen.
Okay.
So the Japanese know about Brown's gas. They actually know a lot more than even the Brown's gas people know. The Brown's gas thing is it's like this show in a way. It's a little bit of a shit show.
Perfect.
you know,
Good metaphor. Good metaphor.
just following your words there, though. Obviously, I love the show, and it really is about pure hydrogen. If you really want to look at the things that work, as far and I say scientifically, this is let me kind of interject and on the whole thing about science, because a lot of people will say, I don't trust any of it. And then some people will say, oh, I trust all of it. And in my opinion, neither answer is correct.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with, well, who's funding the research, right?
Right.
And if you go and look, and again, years of research. When I went and I was looking at the data of these hydrogen research, I actually thought it was a scam. I thought it was a scam because it was way too good to be true. I mean, hydrogen is just bonkers. It's so amazing. And then I started thinking to myself, okay, well, who's funding this research? That's when I found out that there are scientists in Japan that really, really wanted the world to know about hydrogen. If anybody loves hydrogen more than anyone, it's the Japanese. They are absolutely in love with this stuff, and I am too. And the medical establishment did not want to fund hydrogen research. And they even got their greasy tentacles into the government, and the government, after seeing how hydrogen was taken off in Japan, they interjected and say everybody needs to calm down. There's no validity for this stuff being good for your health. They really interjected and almost killed the hydrogen industry. But then again, the scientists stood up again and said, no, this is too important. We have too much data. And they literally had so much overwhelming scientific proof that this stuff was the real deal, to the point where not only the government, but their version of the FDA in Japan, they actually ended up approving it for medical use, and it's now being used
Wow.
in their Western style medicine. So it's the real deal.
Yeah.
Though, to clarify, they have not approved hydrogen gas. It is not being used in their hospitals. It is not being used in their medical clinics. And hydrogen gas is trying to piggyback. And this is where the greasy fingers of corruption comes into play. Brown's gas is just, I hate to say it, it's garbage. And I say it's garbage because, does it have hydrogen in it? Yes. Does it have some benefit? I say yes, but be very cautious, because the way that people are making Brown's gas is by using a chemical called lye, spelled Lye,
Right.
otherwise known as sodium hydroxide.
Yes.
You do not want to be making hydrogen with a chemical. You are literally polluting it at that point.
Right.
It's the difference between clean energy or dirty energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about, and that was one of the things, I asked you first and foremost, is I was like, the hydrogen has to be bioavailable, non-toxic,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And actually has to have some, even if it's a small amount, it actually has to have more stay power ultimately, kind of like
Yes.
to not evaporate out so quickly which means there's only a certain way to really get that to do that. And like you said, it's a smaller amount, but it's almost like better to have a smaller amount of something that is more dense and saturated or more available to you than to try to have a toxic, more excessively concentrated form of something that is poor quality, less bioavailable, actually even toxic for you. So
Exactly. And there is so much to learn on hydrogen. I mean, if anybody's listening, I do have a YouTube channel where I educate on it. It's called Uprising on 44K. And I think that it would even go into the show that you were going to do before this one.
yeah.
The reason, I named it Uprising 144K years ago, way before anybody knew about hydrogen, even way before the pandemic. And it was something that I personally foresaw. I'm going to open up on this show, but I normally don't. I do get visions. I do get information that I almost call them like downloads, but I'm very hesitant about talking about it because, well, there's no science to back up what I'm seeing and what's happening. And I like stuff that I can back up also. I like it to make sense, but I also like to be able to back it up with science, because that's helped guide me too through understanding this whole thing.
Right.
And if you don't have any science and you're just going off of people's word, there's too much corruption, know. And in the world of Brown's gas, I've seen tons of this corruption. And these Brown's gas machines, which, and a lot of times, are actually dangerous. I've known people who've been harmed by them. I know people have contacted me about them who it hasn't gone well for them. In fact, there was one time where a guy had some type of viral infection that was affecting his lungs. He's breathing in the Brown's gas. His whole family had the same viral infection. All of them got better. He was the only one staying sick. And he couldn't figure out why breathing in the Brown's gas kept making him feel like he was not getting better and getting sick.
Right.
And one of the guys who sold him this device told him, well, hydrogen feeds viruses. And so when you're using hydrogen while you're sick, it's not going to help you improve. And I thought, well, that's the biggest BS I've ever heard, because if you look at the science, the science
it's an antioxidant. It's antioxidant. It's like a selective oxidizer, right? I mean,
selective
all these
antioxidant.
Selective antioxidizer, right?
That's right.
And there's just so many good things about it for viral infection or being sick or immune system.
Well, let me share some of the science. So let me give you some hardcore data.
Sweet,
so let's talk about a virus again, since this is the subject that we're kind of on right now for a moment. In order for a virus to replicate, because this is, if you ever study or look at viruses, they're very similar to parasites, and interestingly enough, very similar to cancer.
Right.
they all work very similar. And I created a protocol, by the way, that I've seen work. I don't like to talk about it a lot either on, depending on where we're being listened by.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've used my protocol on a guy recently who had cancer, terminal, went to the doctors, did his whole thing. He was given 3 months to live. He did my protocol 2.5 months later, they can't even detect cancer,
Wow.
you know. Whereas I've known people who use Brown's gas for years, and I actually know one guy who swears by Brown's gas and he got cancer.
Right.
And I think it showed his true colors because he didn't believe in his Brown's gas at that point. He immediately went to the doctor and said, "Cut it out. I want this out." You know, and the thing about viruses, the danger comes in. You don't necessarily want to kill them. I know everybody's, yeah, let's kill the virus.
Right.
All you got to do is stop it from replicating. Just stop
Right.
viral replication. That's
Yes.
really how antivirals work.
Right.
Right. So, in order for viruses to replicate, it actually has to do with the level of oxidation in the body. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Right. I mean, it has to do with the oxygen levels in the blood. It has to do with the acidity as well and electric charge.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you are electric charge, your Hertz levels off, you're going to be more acidic. Viruses thrive in more acidic environments.
And in order to and just hydrogen itself helps the body. See, there's a lot of devices out there that are like, oh, we'll help you get back into the right frequency or the right pH and all this stuff. You don't even need all those devices because
Right.
hydrogen alone does all that. It
Right.
already does it. And so why do you need all these things? That's the one thing I learned about health is I had all these different devices and pieces of equipment and Tesla devices and all this different stuff. And hydrogen was the one that really made the biggest difference. And I spent way too much money and time experimenting on different things. And then hydrogen was all, I would say, almost the holy grail.
Right.
But so there's a lot to learn. But yeah, Brown's gas is it's basically just ionized water. That's all they're doing. They're just electrolyzing water. There's a lot of gases that come out of that. Yes, hydrogen comes out of that, but so does oxygen. And there's about, if I remember correctly, something between 6 and 8 other gases that are emitted. And the world of science doesn't have any idea. There are theories based on, again, some science. The Japanese are saying, no, some of these things are not good for you. Even like oxygen. I mean,
Some of these gases are not good for you that are also coming off with the hydrogen, basically.
that is correct. And so
Yeah.
that's why you really want to be able to just take each individual gas and use it in a very specific way and learn from science and trial and error and things of that nature.
Right.
And
100%.
and I don't want to say that oxygen is bad for you, but I mean, think about it. Even in our atmospheric pressure, you're roughly going to have about 20% oxygen,
Right. Yeah.
So we're breathing it all the time. For you to supplement it, I'm not going to say it's bad for you because if you supplement it, there is benefit to it. That's why when you go to an emergency room and you have a specific issue, they'll put you on oxygen.
Right.
But if you've ever known anybody who does that, you don't want to stay on oxygen too long. The body adapts to higher oxygen levels,
Right.
and it'll literally adapt by making less red blood cells.
Wow.
And you don't want to do that. In fact, think of elite athletes, okay? Because elite
Well,
athletes
it gets dependent upon it because it adapts, it gets used to it, and that's not real. That's not what you're going to be interfacing in real life with. It's almost like if you're eating too purified of foods, your system almost can get so sensitive that if you come across something that's actually, toxic or harder to digest, it knocks you down. And I've had a few teachers be like, you got to strengthen your immune system and throw a couple curveballs in there. If you go too purified, if you get your system too dependent upon purified things that aren't actually in your natural environment even, and this is sometimes what can happen with this quantum tech and also the Western psyche, is that we go so extreme sometimes with stuff. You know what I mean? It sounds like a couple of this times you talked about the Brown's gas, like the guy thought he was getting better. He was on that, and then his whole family got better, and he was still sick. And like, what the heck? I've been breathing this stuff this whole time, thinking I'm healing myself with this quantum tech.
That doesn't mean that you can't use. Even before we go that direction, I want to share something really amazing, and this gets very spiritual in my opinion. If you use oxygen and you start giving yourself higher levels of it, it's your body will adapt to this thing that's coming from the outside. So here's where it gets really interesting and beautiful. Oxygen comes from the outside, right? You're breathing it within your atmosphere.
Sure.
Hydrogen, you make it inside. You make it in your body. So it's a big difference right there. Now, here's where it gets really wild. I'm about to go somewhere here with you. And I've never said this publicly, actually. And when you take in oxygen from the outside, your body will adapt. So if you're getting way too much oxygen, again, your body will literally make less red blood cells. So like, hey, we got so much oxygen, we don't need all these red blood cells to absorb all of it.
Right.
Where look at an elite athlete. Elite athletes, instead of taking in oxygen, they do the opposite. They will limit the amount of oxygen. In fact, they'll bring the levels lower. And they'll do this on purpose so that your body will adapt to it, and it will literally make more red blood cells.
Right.
And they'll be like, oh my God, we need to have a lot of red blood cells to absorb any little bit of oxygen that we can handle.
Yes.
And then once you stop limiting the oxygen, and now you go play a basketball game, let's say you're, the NBA finals, and you're not limiting your oxygen now, and you're breathing what's in the normal atmosphere, your body's going to be absorbing that. Oh, you're flying. There you go. See? So you get it, right?
It's funny. It's like this is one of the stages that I've been showing people with Kundalini, with pranayama, is when you're done with your breath technique, blow all the air out and stay breathless for like 30 to 45 seconds as you can. And that's going to direct all this oxygenated blood to areas that are damaged, but it's also going to do exactly what you said. It's going to make the body produce more red blood cells to try to get the oxygen that's now cut off. And so when you do this, it's changing the alchemy of your body, not just your blood, but the water in your system. And it's playing with alchemy using hydrogen as well, hydrogen and oxygen. We're becoming these internal alchemists. So it's just beautiful to see these correlations, because all of this is what is so beautiful about the engineering of some of these spiritual sciences. They reflect this divinity, and you'll see it correlate in sports. There was a breath that I would do that I learned was a holotropic yogic breath, but I actually intuitively figured it out when I used to run track, because if you had to run a 400, that's the hardest one. It's the in between long distance and a sprint. It's once all the way on the track. So towards the tail end, your body is at the struggling the most to get the last bit of oxygen that it can. And so when you're double ventilated in your breath, sucking through your nose and your mouth and exhaling through your mouth, you're sucking in through two vents and getting more oxygen. And it used to be this way I could flood more oxygen into the system in that final stretch. And it actually gave me, a profound boost to peak out and win the races in some respects. So,
well, let me finish this thought that I think,
please.
again, I think it's going to blow everybody's mind. So now I explained about oxygen and how the body adapts to how much you're bringing in,
right.
whether you're limiting it or you're giving yourself excess amount of it, right?
Right.
But now let's talk hydrogen, because the thing that I love about hydrogen is that instead of your body adapting to the amount that is coming into the body the way with oxygen, hydrogen is actually self-regulating. So it self-balances.
Wow.
So let me give you an example. Like right now, I'm inhaling hydrogen. I don't know if people can see it or not, but I'm inhaling hydrogen right now. If I get too much hydrogen, instead of my body trying to adapt to it, my body will just off gas it. So basically, it brings homeostasis again. It brings balance again. It's like the great balancer. And as long as you're making a specific level, so basically when you're at your peak, your body makes, if I remember correctly, because sometimes the numbers I'm not super accurate, but I believe this number is correct. 1,000 of milliliters of hydrogen gas when your body's at its peak, like when you're 18 years old, 20 years old, whatever.
Right.
At its peak, you're making 1,000 milliliters of hydrogen gas every 24 hours. Now, this is what your body makes naturally.
Wow.
As you age, when you're older, like a senior, you're probably making about half that. So your body is not running on all cylinders. And by the way, almost nobody has this data. I have access to this data. I got stuff that hasn't even been published yet from Japan. So I got access to a lot of cool information. And so if you're making half that amount of hydrogen gas, I've seen the biggest changes in people's health when they're older. So if you give hydrogen gas to a 20-year-old, he's going to inhale it, drink the water, and be like, "Well, I don't feel nothing." It's like, that's because you're 20 years old, dude.
Right. Right.
You're running on
And
all
because, like
cylinders.
you said, hydrogen is regulatory, self-regulating. So
Yes.
it's going to go, oh, this kid's got tons of hydrogen anyways. So it's going to just
Yeah.
off
Off
gas
gas.
whatever portion of that anyways.
Right.
But for the person who's
But
depleted, it's going to really satiate them.
yes, but still remember, don't think that hydrogen is not for young people,
Right.
because there was a scientific study done in Japan on pro soccer players. And this particular study was to see if hydrogen made a difference with endurance. Now, for those people who don't know, when you do a scientific study, if you can show that whatever it is that you're doing has a positive effect 80% of the time, the study is deemed a big success. So you develop some pill or something for, I don't know, high blood pressure. As long as it works 80% of the time, it is deemed a big success. The pill will be approved and people can use it.
Right.
Well, in this particular study, they had all these people, they measured all their endurance levels, and then, of course, then they implemented hydrogen, did the exact same test, and not only was it successful, it worked 100% of the time. Every
Wow.
single person's endurance got better, and they were all young though. But it's
Mm.
because when you're doing exercise, you're going to be using your reserves now of hydrogen. And by the way, hydrogen stores up in different organs. I have science on that too, and I have imaging on that I can show.
Wow. Crazy.
But it
That's
stores
amazing.
up in different organs, whether it's your liver, the kidneys, whatever.
Like
And
places that you need it more, like it stores up in areas that are like, I'm just curious, in the data that you have, did it like, was it storing up in healthier organs that were in a more healthy place, or was, when you're taking it, was it going to the areas that were more taxed? I guess that's what
yeah,
I'm
what I
curious.
noticed by looking at the data was it would go to certain organs more so than other organs, regardless of someone's health. So, for example, one of the hardest things to heal that I've seen are like kidneys. When you're on dialysis and the kidneys really start, fading, when I looked at where hydrogen gets stored, it's hard to get hydrogen to the kidneys actually.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that it won't make it there. It will, but not in the levels that it does like in the liver. Boy, the liver gets a lot of hydrogen and it stores a lot of it in the liver.
Wow.
Maybe there's a correlation between the amount of blood. I mean, we do
I was,
know that the liver is the largest internal organ of the human body, right?
it's a big filter. So the
Yeah.
hydrogen's going through the filter.
And if I were to give you other data, scientific studies as far as what hydrogen can do for the liver,
Mm-hmm.
oh my goodness, hydrogen has been shown to be amazing for the liver. I've known people who've had cirrhosis of the liver, fatty liver, and they use the device that I recommend, which is the 2021, Lourdes Hydrofix Premium.
Right.
And then they get all sorts of benefits. Their fatty liver disease will go away. Their livers do great, right? Whereas when they were using the hydrogen pills, for example, it was making their livers get worse.
Right. The metals were
So
taxing the liver, and yeah,
yeah, and not only
toxifying.
that, the pills don't really make, in my opinion, bioavailable hydrogen. It's very
Right.
little.
So
You'll
it's like
get
an
some.
illusion. It's kind of an illusion in and of itself.
Yeah, it's kind of like yeah, I mean, I guess I could think of a lot of examples, but it's just not as bioavailable from what I've seen. I mean, heck, so the device that I like to use to make 1.5 liters of what's called full saturation of hydrogen. See, back in the world of science again,
Right.
if you have water in our atmospheric pressure, you cannot dissolve more than roughly 1.6 ppm, parts per million of hydrogen. You can't.
Right. Right.
Because if you do more than that, the water is like our bodies actually, it will off gas the rest. It will only allow you to
Right.
have 1.6.
It's that self-regulating. It's like, yeah,
Yep.
that's so interesting. So, all right, real quick, because you
Yep.
said the unit, and I want to,
Yep.
guys, by the way, if you want to know more about this, this is actually the page on Matrix Body Mechanics. As we are
Oh, can they
affiliates,
see
and
that, by the way?
yeah, they can see all this.
If they
So
can see that, look at that one right there that you're
this
showing.
is the
It
unit right
says,
here, right?
yeah. And that
Yeah.
video right there is so good. That's actually one of my favorite videos, the science behind
The
the
health
health.
of molecular hydrogen.
Yeah, that's a great video. They show a lot of the actual data. And again, try to show me data on Brown's gas. There isn't any. There is
Right.
not even one scientific study. So
Right. And
you know.
and this is the unit. Now here's a question for you. And by the way, guys, so
Sure.
you can check it. And we give kind of, and you and I will talk a little bit about this and how, because we were going to talk about this the other day, how hydrogen gets made in nature, in the atmosphere as well.
Oh,
Because
not hydrogen. That has to do with water, clean water. It's different.
or how, right, how water
Oh,
gets distilled. But isn't
yes.
hydrogen play a role in that process through the
Actually, yes, it
distillation process?
does.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, it's the beginning of it all.
Right.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
So with that, I would love to touch base on that. But here's a question for
Sure.
you. So
Okay.
we're talking about how the kidneys couldn't, aren't, they don't, maybe the hydrogen doesn't reach them, let's say, as it moves
It
through the
does.
system,
It
or
does
as
reach them.
efficiently. So here's my question. Like
Okay. Uh-huh.
maybe, and I'm always thinking of, number one, is there an intravenous way to do this hydrogen? Is that something that they have experimented with?
Yes.
And
Yes,
is
they have.
there a rectal way to do it to possibly get to other organs that maybe the hydrogen might dissipate through the absorption process? And right now we're just blasting it out fresh, let's say for the prostate or for the coccygeal body, which is actually the Kundalini gland inside the sacrum, which gets compromised too. But anything
Mhm.
actually, large intestine, like the there's so much that's in the lower portion of us, including people have hemorrhoids, and there's not enough sun and light that people get. Not too many people do anal sunning and any kind of genital. I'm serious, you guys got to think
No,
about
I
this.
believe it.
Light,
No, I do.
the
I do
human
think about
body
it.
was designed to get light everywhere. So there's just a lot of
Heck
things
yeah.
that are actually, especially we've all been in our houses, we're wear more clothes. It's been winter for a lot of people. Your
Yeah.
body hasn't been exposed to as much light or fresh air or oxygen or hydrogen. So I guess that's my other question for people as
Oh
well that
man,
are curious about it.
you're touching on something actually really really crucial in my opinion, which is hydrogen is a form of bringing light into the body,
Oh, cool.
because hydrogen, guess what, what's the sun made of?
Right. Right.
It's
We were
made of
just talking about it's actually a gas plasma ball that is made of hydrogen. Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's made of basically almost entirely hydrogen,
Hydrogen. Right.
you
Wow.
know. And so, when you're intaking hydrogen gas, inhaling it or dissolving it into your water, talk about true living water. I mean, I'm talking like the real living water. I've heard so many people say, they make claims about these magical waters. In fact, I got an email about one today that I researched, and it was just, I hate to say it, it's just garbage, another scam. It's these things are constantly out there in the world of health, and it's so frustrating for someone like me who I really truly care about people. I truly care about humanity, and I want the best for everyone, including myself. And in order for things to be good for me, they have to be good for everyone. We're all bound together in this whole thing.
Yep.
And I want nothing else but for people to be happy, and my happiness is their happiness, and their
Right.
happiness is my happiness. I mean,
Right.
this is what it's all about. And so understanding that automatically makes you just want good things. But it's really great that the sun, as powerful as it is, and it's pretty much almost entirely made of hydrogen. Thank God that we can't go and pollute that thing. That we
Right.
can't mess with it. It's so big, it's so powerful, it's so amazing, and it starts our whole process here on planet Earth that I don't think people understand. I mean, if you look at the world of science again, it's funny how scientists will always say things like, "We got to find water on this planet in order to be able, for there to be life."
Right.
Let me tell you something. If our sun was all of a sudden gone and we got plenty of water here, we'd be dead in the water. All right. We're
Right.
nothing without that star, you
Right.
know. And movement, in a lot of ancient scriptures, it talks about movement being life. Well, a couple of things that come to mind. One, hydrogen, tons of movement. There's a reason they call it active hydrogen. It is so active, it's vibrating, it's so much energy in hydrogen. Hence the reason that we can use it for different things that require energy. And to me, that's what's coming, by the way, my brother. When we hear about the age of Aquarius,
Yeah.
it's about the knowledge of not just water, Aquarius water, but in the end, it's going to be the knowledge of hydrogen and how we
Mm.
utilize it. I mean, just look at, like, here's an interesting one. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Let's talk about the Pyramid of Giza. Do you know what's underneath that pyramid? This was discovered a few years ago.
The hidden chambers that are underneath.
Not just hidden chambers underneath, like below the pyramid, below the soil.
I know all I've I'm currently in awareness of is that there was hidden chambers, and I think there was like an aquifer or some water.
There's a river running underneath
Okay,
that
yeah,
pyramid.
like a okay.
Okay. Don't think for a second that they didn't have that knowledge to know to build a pyramid on top of running water.
Mm,
Where do you think their energy is coming from? Why do you think they use gold at the capstone? Because it is a great conductor
right.
in order to be able to ionize and extract pure energy, hydrogen. And the pyramid used to be surrounded by lush green. I think that they were creating their own, almost like not just their own atmosphere, but they were able to turn that place. I mean, have you seen what hydrogen does for plants? Have you seen what it does for
I
vegetation?
I mean, we talked about even just my experience of raw food and
Yeah,
just soaking nuts in hydrogen rich water, and how the hydrogen can go into the food and actually makes the food
yes.
last longer. But I know that the times that I have had actual hydrogen water that I maybe put partial with regular water into a flower vase, that the flowers always stayed fresh longer. They yeah.
Yeah. I have videos on it where people, there was one person who had like a dead rose. Well, at least they thought it was dead. They started using the hydrogen water again from the hydrofix. But for plants, it's a little different. You don't have to be as strict as far as the purity of it. For humans, I'm like, no, you can't be using any chemicals, especially if you're trying to heal the body. I mean, you can't be using these chemicals. But there's so much to learn. And I believe the age of Aquarius is going to bring that knowledge in. And the Japanese have stuff. I'm not even at liberty to say some of the stuff because I've been asked not to.
Right.
But I have seen footage. I do have some of that data, and I am going to be releasing more of it in the future. So you and I can stay in contact. And when I'm liberty to release the data and this unpublished data, I'll release it here first, and I'll release it on my YouTube channel first, you know,
Awesome. I love it.
but it's so exciting. It's just that I have to respect what they're doing and the amount of money they're spending to figure this stuff out. But I really want to bring the truth about hydrogen, and how to help people with it.
I mean, do you even think that that the I just it's almost like, would the United States even do anything with that technology, like in terms
Well,
of like what people tend to
okay.
focus on? Like, that's what I love about the Japanese is they are focused on the really like progressively like amazing, expansive, more conscious
Oh,
aspects
absolutely.
of technology. And I think that's one of the kind of dangerous recipes that we talk about is when a species gets more, it becomes like more technologically advanced than it does consciously aware. And it's a dangerous combination. I feel like the Japanese have been just more noble and
Oh, yes.
honorable
Honorable. Oh,
in their
man.
tech, and I think it's because they've also had a lot of advanced technologies reflectively before we did. I mean, really, if you think about some of the, the different Eastern sciences that were practiced both in China and Japan, these different sciences of the East were very advanced, guys. I'm talking acupuncture when we were, not even using tools and stuff. I mean, just it's
Look at the samurai swords.
yeah. Oh my gosh,
Those things.
just their ability to work with metals. You're right. Just their
Yep.
alchemical ability to work with metal alloys and layering steel and yeah.
That was part of the development of the best hydrogen machine in the world. They knew that the metal aspect of it was so important, and to this day, there's only one company in the world that can make the metals that the Japanese say are good enough to make clean hydrogen, and it is a Japanese company, and it's the only one in the world that does it. Even NASA goes to them to have them make stuff for them, which is pretty
Wow.
wild. Yeah,
Wow.
they're really on the top of their game, and the science of metals is just mind blowing. Also, it's like, for example, I don't know if you're aware of this. I already have a theory. I don't know how many of these theories I should share, because um, some of the latest science shows that hydrogen can be turned into a metal. How in the
Really?
world do you? Oh yeah, how in the
Wow.
world do you change hydrogen into metal? And my theory, if I'm going to put it out there now, because once I put it out there, everybody's going to start mimicking it. I've done this before, by the way. But basically, my theory is that that's at the center of the earth, at the core, the metal that's at the core of the earth.
Right.
I think is a metal that I think it's hydrogen, because otherwise there wouldn't be able to be this amount of life on Earth. And even at the bottom of the oceans, I don't know if you know that there's certain places on planet Earth where at the bottom of the ocean, it's literally trickling hydrogen out all the time. It's releasing hydrogen constantly, like huge deposits of hydrogen at the bottoms of the ocean.
Is that I'm wondering if that is part of what I've seen a few pieces of um explorative footage and interviews with people that were down at the depths of depths, and they actually
Mhm.
said that there was another water that met the
Yep.
water at the bottom, and it
Yep.
was like another. Yes. So
Yes.
uh
Yes.
and thus in the
You're
Bible
getting
it talks
close.
about the waters above, the waters below. What's also
Yeah.
interesting is in regards to like a hollow earth, or this. I saw footage from a Russian satellite a long time, from like the 60s or 70s, that was leaked with this giant hole at
Oh yeah. I've seen that.
and with glowing earth and a whole atmosphere moving in and out, and it was totally holistically, it just looked very normal because that's what a toroidal field looks like. It's reflected through nature and everything else. Why wouldn't it be that way? um but if there was an inner sun,
Yes.
then
But
it would
different.
make sense hydrogen would also potentially be at play in that.
Well, yeah, because the inner sun, I mean, the sun that we currently have is made up of, again, almost entirely hydrogen.
Right.
The inner sun would be in a different form. So hydrogen could take many different forms. Look at water. It can be a solid, it can be
Right.
a gas, it
Yep.
can be a liquid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Right.
And hydrogen can, I mean, I even have, so I don't know how much I should say on this. In fact, I think I'm gonna hold off on that one. There's something I really
Okay.
want to share with you, but I don't even know if how many people are listening. So maybe I'll hold off on this one. But let's just
We
say that
got
there's
we
some
got we got
technology.
12 people in our 12 people in our chat right now.
12. Okay.
There's a
Um,
12, but it's they've been with us. They've been
they're
with
the
us.
hardcore guys.
They've been with us through all the technical difficulties, that's for sure.
Wow.
Um
Well, I got to commend them. We definitely have to do this right.
we will.
Again.
And I'm gonna cut this video and edit it up to a cleaner, tighter version because of the what we're getting into now. And
Okay.
so and then I'll send you that, and I'll repost that one to Rumble for everybody that was struggling with our process over there. And I'll
Well,
probably leave this one up and then put the edited one up that says less messy. All the hydrogen
sure.
interview. But I am
There's.
I am I am going to touch
Yeah.
base again because someone was asking. Because I want to keep it there, even though they made a joke about it. Ha ha
Sure.
ha! We want to know how we can do the intravenous and rectal treatments. Well, let me tell you something.
Oh,
Those
okay.
rec
I
those
can share
rectal
that.
treatments are gonna that's you're gonna take that real seriously if you're a man. Because should we go through the statistics of prostate cancer? Should
Oh,
should we
dude.
should we guys? If you don't die from something else, statistically, all men will die from prostate cancer. How about that one?
You know,
Isn't that
that's
crazy?
actually
That's
it
crazy,
is
isn't it?
crazy.
Yeah,
It is
because you're
crazy. And well, remember this, and I already know you. I'm sure you know this. Basically, the beginning of all disease, as far as when we're monitoring things, it starts with inflammation, right? But even before inflammation, because that's the first sign that we see it.
well. I'll
But
say I'm gonna actually. There's a pre-stage. I'm gonna say
okay,
it starts with neural degeneration. That
okay,
that 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 and from that neural degeneration, the system gets saturated. It gets saturated with neurochemical residue. I wanted to make a point too. You said water can be a solid. That's right. Look at us. We're water.
yeah,
We are a solid form of what, 89% water. So my point is your water vessel gets toxic. Remember, you're a filter. So when you get a certain amount of toxic water in you, that is a result in toxic blood. And that makes, by the way, all these neurochemicals, especially acetylcholine, primary chemical for movement, right? Also, neuropeptides, when you feel happy, you feel sad, you feel angry. Also, chemical acidic base. After these chemicals come through, they were never supposed to stay. You were supposed to flush them out with just some basic palpation and movement, like you brush your teeth every day. When you don't get that, they sit in your tissue, they sit in your blood, in your water. It makes your whole system more acidic. That acidity,
stagnant.
stagnant, the stagnancy and the acidity level starts eating away at the
pH.
two coat proteins of your nerves. Your nerves have a two coat protein, like little plastic covering to your copper wire. And so that acidity starts wearing away those protein casings. The nerves stop firing and communicating properly. That's when the body starts getting more acidity and or not more acidity, more inflammation comes from that neurodegeneration. And then from that inflammation comes the beginning of cellular mutation, degeneration, disease.
And one of the beautiful things about hydrogen is the way that it helps regulate pH. So it's not going to try to push you completely alkaline.
Right.
It's not going to try to push you acidic. Just like our blood, it wants to maintain this really nice homeostasis. It wants to maintain this balance. And to me, gosh, I keep finding myself hesitating about sharing certain information because there's so much in regards to how acidity and alkalinity and then the balance between them both to really find, because ultimately health is not just one way or the other way.
Right.
You need a balance. Even life on planet Earth, you
Right.
need death for life to exist.
Right.
You know, you just have to have a proper balance. And that's where hydrogen comes in because it just does it for you. It just
Right.
does, it brings things to balance. It's such a
It
beautiful
really
thing.
is like one of the most homeopathic elements, huh? I mean, in the
Yeah.
term of homeopathy, in the definition of homeopathy, it's adaptogenic, and it also activates the body to focus on its own healing. And like you said, it's self-regulating. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost, yeah,
And everything,
it's like a sensitive element, isn't it? It's such a sensitive element, really.
uh,
It's very
I
adaptogenic.
actually, I literally, when I was first reading the data, I remember reading the science on it and thinking to myself, it's like a guardian angel. I mean, I'm not even like kidding.
Right.
There's stuff that you could do to the body that would literally destroy your health. Like one awesome example, there's so many, but I think I mentioned to you about a drug called cisplatin.
Yes.
And this drug, it's an anti-tumor drug. It works well on tumors. The problem is that if you use it, it destroys your kidneys. Almost every single person who will take it will need a kidney transplant. That's how
Wow.
bad it is. I mean, this is
Wow.
how toxic it is. And yet they did a study where they used hydrogen with the cisplatin. Boom, your kidneys were fine. I mean, it had like a 10% damage on it. Well, 10% is very different than 90%,
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of damage, but you get rid of this whatever tumor or whatever, and then you go back to rebuilding your body and your kidneys can rebuild again. It's a beautiful thing about the kidneys and the liver. These are organs that can rejuvenate, given the right circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain organs that are hard to rejuvenate, and hopefully it's something that you can do because there's things like the brain, for example. If a part of the brain dies, it's hard to bring that part back. You know, um, I could give the example of how they're using hydrogen for strokes in Japan if you'd like. I think it shows the power of hydrogen again.
Yeah. Wow.
Whereas in Japan, so it's been approved for heart disease, for like heart attacks and heart issues. It's been approved for strokes. And I've already seen some research where they're using it. They're looking to approve it for dementia and Alzheimer's, actually,
Wow.
which is a real tricky one. But just talking about strokes, I mean, if you have a stroke and you're not getting proper blood supply, and this reminds me of a verse in these ancient scriptures, life is in the blood. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
get blood somewhere, that area is going to die, right?
Right.
And so if you're not getting proper blood supply to this part of your brain, you don't have much time before that part of the brain starts dying and decaying. And then, later on, that's when people who've had strokes, how half of their body just won't work.
Right.
Their face is drooping or whatever. Well, in Japan, they'll carry hydrogen in an emergency case, like on an ambulance. And if somebody calls the ambulance and they pick up somebody, they'll immediately put them on hydrogen gas because that gas will go straight to their brain when you're inhaling it, and it will keep that part of the brain alive without any blood. Think about that for a second.
Wow.
Because if life is in the blood, what
Wow.
exactly is in the blood that's bringing life? And to me, that's hydrogen.
Right. It's the
You
light,
know,
like you said. It's like light. It's literally
light.
like light. Yeah.
Yep. And so if you keep that part of the brain alive with the hydrogen gas, they get you to the hospital. They reestablish blood flow, to that part of the brain. And these people from what I'm seeing, over 99% of them make a full recovery. So everybody can make a full recovery, you
Wow.
know, from having something like a stroke. And that's just one of many examples. And yeah, people are asking about IVs and all this stuff. Well, guess what? The two best ways to really get hydrogen in you are going to be making the hydrogen water that I've been talking about, dissolving hydrogen into the water, and inhaling the hydrogen gas. You can do that with that Lourdes Hydrofix I was talking about. So they made a home device that you can use regularly, and it's super cheap and accessible now. I mean, to get hydrogen of this quality, I mean, you would have needed a lab that was, in the millions of dollars. The best device that I found originally to just only get hydrogen gas to inhale it was $11,000.
Wow.
And that was supposed to be affordable. Well, now they made this, and this thing is less than $2,500, and it makes both the water and the gas in a safe way, which is the important part, and proper levels. And you can use it at home. You don't need to do an
Right.
IV, by the way. You don't need to
Right.
do that. You can just inhale and you can drink the water. If you go to certain places, yes, they can put an IV. They even have hydrogen baths, but this is something that you don't necessarily need for just home use. You'd have to go to a special like clinic or something where they were doing those things.
Right.
And I am looking to go to Japan to try to bring a lot more of this information, down the road. But for people who are like, hey, I want to be able to access this stuff, in my home,
Right.
well, then, and you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Right.
then, this is actually affordable, and you can get the amount of hydrogen you need. Because literally after inhaling the hydrogen gas for about 30 minutes to an hour on this device, you're
Yeah.
going to be, you're not going to need much more than that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And that's the thing is like, I'm actually looking for one of the units to look at just so people can kind of see
yeah,
it. So that's it right there. It's
I'm running mine right now. I could point my camera right to it. I'm using this stuff
that's
all
awesome.
the time.
I know, right? You are. So and
I love this
and
stuff.
and again, that's a curious thing too, is like, okay, we know hydrogen. What a lot of people don't know in terms of that, besides that it's on the periodic table, is some
Yeah.
things like we talked about, like deuterium, you know,
Oh yeah,
which
heavy hydrogen.
is also not on here. It's actually kind of the polar opposite, right? It is like heavy hydrogen, basically. It's
It's almost like
H3.
hydrogen's evil twin.
Right.
It's
Right.
kind of like what
Arch
was it, like Cain and
nemesis.
Abel? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's so wild, man. Like what do they call Lucifer? Oh, Lucifer.
Right.
Yeah,
But yes,
Lucifer.
basically Cain and Abel. Yeah. It's like the
Yeah,
two.
Cain and
Yeah.
Abel.
Yep.
And the sun is made up of hydrogen and helium, but helium is basically another form of hydrogen. In fact, I believe it's the second thing on the periodic table. So the two top hydrogens on the periodic table are the best ones, which is hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, and helium. Helium has actually been shown to have, again, medical benefit. I don't know if you're aware
Right.
of that either.
I've heard a little bit about helium in that regard. I like hearing that. Actually, it would make sense. I've always just felt like helium had some benefit more than just making your voice go really high. Someone asked me in the chat room real quick. I'm going to throw it in because I know
Sure.
you have an answer for this.
Sure.
They said, what about food grade hydrogen peroxide, putting a couple drops in some water and drinking it for a flush? And that is a kind of a homeopathic remedy that people will work with, a milder or a food grade hydrogen peroxide. I personally love hydrogen peroxide. It's one of my favorite things to work with in general, always has been.
Yeah.
I'm not saying fully ingesting, but I'm just saying in general, I've always loved this as a,
All right. Let me definitely
yeah.
answer this question.
Mm.
Food grade hydrogen peroxide. Well, first of all, it's not at all what we're talking about.
Okay.
That's the first
Right.
thing.
Of course.
Because food grade hydrogen peroxide, I actually don't even know why they call it hydrogen peroxide, because what it actually is one additional oxygen molecule.
Right.
So let me say it in, again, scientific way. It's H2O2. That's hydrogen peroxide.
Right.
What we're talking about, molecular hydrogen, is just H2. That's all it is.
Right.
It's not H2O2. Right?
Right.
Hydrogen peroxide, and I like it too, by the way. I use it quite regularly, but not the way that people would think. Because oxygen, which is basically what hydrogen peroxide is, oxygen oxidizes. Oxygen basically kills things. All right. So if you have a cut and you're at risk for infection, you put hydrogen peroxide, to kill or burn maybe a bacteria, a pathogen,
Right. Right.
because you don't want to get an infection.
Right.
I use hydrogen peroxide, food grade. I dilute it, definitely dilute it, and I make a kind of a mouthwash out of it to keep my
Hmm.
mouth clean. You
Sure.
know, and I've used it before on infections that you might have in the mouth, and it works great,
Hmm.
right? But the kind of hydrogen that we're talking about is not an oxidant; it's an
Right.
antioxidant.
Right.
So
Right.
it's completely different.
Right.
So just
And
just kind
I
of
would
answer that.
even say more than, and now more than ever, I would actually say that chlorine dioxide would be
Yeah.
way better than even hydrogen peroxide if you're going to do that, because chlorine dioxide is actually a selective oxidizer, which is very
Oh,
interesting. Most people don't know about chlorine dioxide. It is a selective oxidizer. So it doesn't just oxidize everything, it's actually selective in oxidizing foreign bacteria in the body. It doesn't have an oxidization process to the cell membranes in the body. It only does to foreign free radicals. Isn't that fascinating about chlorine dioxide? It's a
wow! I've never heard that before. I mean, I've
yeah,
known about chlorine dioxide. I just didn't know that it was selective. So that's
I
interesting.
know. Oh my gosh, this I've been going deep into the science of that as well, and it's just amazing. My one of my buddies who actually is amazing holistic dairy farmer on the island. He makes his own. I have companies I work with that
Okay.
premix, and
Like
I just
MMS.
yeah, like MMS,
Okay.
which is now
Yeah.
another company. They had to change it now, but you can
Yeah.
get pre-made citric acid and sodium chloride, and then, but you can actually get the sodium chloride crystals online. He said it's actually way more affordable. And if you're doing
Oh,
things
nice.
like I work with chlorine dioxide, and I do a mineral nanotech detox bath with shungite and chlorine dioxide. So if you're using it, to clean your water for like a jacuzzi or something
Yes.
like that, it can be way more effective to actually get your own sodium chloride crystals and your own citric acid. You can buy the bulk and good quality, way cheaper. And when you're doing it for 300 gallons or whatever, but I can tell you it's super effective in not having to refill your water, which is wasteful anyways, to be able to oxidize and clean this water. And I'm telling you, it's so amazing, so much better for you than any of these other chemicals. And by the way, you can use it in regular jacuzzis. So for anyone hearing this, get off of all those nasty chemical things. You can actually work with this. It's literally medical chloride, like chlorine dioxide is medical bleach, basically. It is,
Yeah,
which is
that's
way
awesome.
better for you than the stuff you're putting in your pools or your jacuzzis. And honestly, it's not priced that far off if you're going to get it smart, get it bulk. So continuing
Awesome.
forward on the hydrogen tip, getting back to obviously the opposition to oxidization, which would be more what
Yeah.
hydrogen is doing, which is replenishment more than oxidant, right?
And I think that the fundamental problem with our health right now is that we're not in balance, and we're so far on the being oxidized, basically. We need something to bring back balance. And
Right.
hydrogen helps a lot with that. I mean, I
Yeah.
highly recommend having the cleanest water. I mean, I do recommend something called carbon distillers, just because I've seen the charts of what they filter out as compared to reverse osmosis and
Right.
carbon filters and just
Sure.
different types of water filtration. Because the hydrogen machine works best with the cleanest water. That's what I've
Right.
noticed. And it
That's why
only
I
makes
feel like
sense.
even the water system I have is just going to be a great template for this hydrogen technology, just to even run through you know what I mean? Run
Oh
through
yeah,
the actual system. So,
that's gonna be
it
so cool.
yeah, especially, I mean, even the water, again, we're blessed to be one of the only states that doesn't fluoridate. So, just even that in and of itself seems like it would be so, like,
Oh.
what do you do with that if you have fluoridated water in your state and you want to run your hydrogen machine? How do you work? I guess you get distilled water, right? Or you
Well,
go
you get
buy distilled
if you
water.
do the if well, instead of buying it, it's a lot cheaper to buy a carbon distiller. There's a
Sure.
website where I recommend it because it's the best. I only like to recommend the best. And there's a website called mypurewater.com.
Mypurewater.com, guys.
Yeah, and if people want a discount, that there is a code. It's Uprising 144K, the same name as my YouTube channel. But there is like American made high quality carbon distillers. I found that they just last forever as long as you maintain them and keep them clean.
Wow.
And the quality of water is
It's like
higher
the
than
Berkey kind of.
anything.
It's like
Oh
that
no,
Berkey.
way beyond the Berkey. I have
But
a
I mean,
Berkey.
okay.
I have a Berkey. I have an Alexa Pure. So the Berkey is almost like a type of carbon distiller with
Hmm.
using gravity and little tiny nano holes,
Right.
to clean the water. It doesn't get the water not even close to as clean as a carbon distiller. Not even
Right.
close. No contest.
Right.
It's like comparing Michael Jordan to me, or something.
Right.
Like it's not even close.
Right.
And I've seen people run water through a Berkey with the fluoride filters, put them in the hydrogen generator, that Lourdes Hydrofix, and stuff still come up because the thing I like about this hydrogen generator, it will expose the quality of your water.
Interesting. How does it
And
do
there
that?
was it does it in one of two ways. One, it was a good example. It was a doctor who contacted me. She had certain medical issues that she couldn't solve herself, and she came to me for help. And when I told her she should get a carbon distiller and the Lourdes Hydrofix, she said, "Nah, I already got a Berkey with the fluoride filters. I'm just going to get the Hydrofix and just make hydrogen." And I told her, I said, "Well, I still think you should get the cleanest water." She goes, "Nah, nah, I'm fine." And within about a month or so, inside her hydrogen device, the pitcher, it looked like green bubble gum at the
Mm,
bottom of it.
I was gonna
And
ask.
it was like, and it was like, "What's going on? Why does it look like this?" And she messages me, and I've never seen anything like it. And of course, I contacted the company. They contact their top engineers. See, they have engineers and scientists that are on a whole other level. This is why I love this company. They're the number one hydrogen company in the world, by the way. So they got tons of connections. They looked at it, got back to me and said, "That's not the machine. It's their water they're using." And I was like, "It's the water?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I've seen weird buildup on the device, and it's always the water. If I use my carbon distiller and put the water in there, it comes out as clean as can be every time.
Wow.
There's no issues. And the other one is that the taste of the water. Hydrogen can bring out certain tastes. I remember I was using water from a different filter for a while, and my water was tasting funny after I ran it through my hydrogen generator. And I kept thinking, why does it taste funny? So again, I called the company. Again, they get in contact with their scientists and engineers. They get back to me and they're like, "It's your water." And the moment I start using the carbon distiller and use that water, it tasted fine. So it was
Wow.
this particular water filtration system that somebody else was using that I actually used, and it did that. So that's how it exposes the quality of your water. It is I'm just grateful that this company exists because they dumped millions of dollars to create this device for us to be able to use. And it all came from the heart and from love because apparently the top guy in charge of this whole program, he did it for his secretly kind of doing it for his daughter. His daughter has ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. They told her that she would not live past the age of 5. He knew based on the data that hydrogen would help her, and he wanted the best at-home device that you could get because they can't just be living in a hospital. And so he was part of the team that was responsible for creating this device. They spent probably way too much money, and they didn't have they could have see if the company cared only about profits like a lot of companies do, they
Right.
would have had this thing made in China, and they didn't. The guy said, "I am not going to have any of this made in China." He had it engineered in Japan, built in Japan, handmade, by the way, in Japan. And it is the
Wow.
only device in the world in the hydrogen industry that is lab tested and certified. And that's
Wow.
all done in Japan. So the hydrogen ended up being so good from this device that this is what they use in medical centers now in Japan. They never expected that, but
Unbelievable.
that's how far it went. And his daughter, I believe, is now like 11 or 12 years old. Man, she was supposed to die at 5. She's still alive.
Wow. Wow.
So that's how
That's just
amazing it is.
amazing. I mean, it's beautiful and it makes sense. And at the same time, what a again, like you said, it's amazing what it would normally take to get this quality of hydrogen. You'd have to have this labs and like it's just brilliant.
It wouldn't be
I'm
accessible.
excited to start working with it. Like I said, I'm always looking for things for patients as they're going through this rebirthing and activation of their nervous system and inner physician. Anything we do after that supports the integration, the regeneration, the activation, and the drainage, the detoxification that comes a
Oh
lot of
man.
times with the flushing the blood. So it only makes sense that hydrogen vapor that people are going to be, even if I just let patients at the end of their series just breathe this for
Oh,
how
absolutely.
long do the cycles run for that you're
The
just on
machine
right now?
does. I mean, you can do 30 right now. The one that I'm running is 30 minutes. but you can literally turn the machine off and right back on and do it another 30 minutes. That's what I do. I just keep inhaling it. I mean, we're just sitting here chatting. So of course I'm going to
Sure.
inhale hydrogen. Why not?
Sure.
And it not only, when you inhale it, not only does it go straight to the brain, but it actually affects your eyes, which is an interesting thing. My father, man, he used to use glasses. I haven't seen him with glasses ever since he started using hydrogen. I don't see more glasses no more.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Did it affect your eyesight, Dad? And he's like, I don't even need them. I'm like, that's crazy. And I have had other people tell me that their eyesight has gotten better by using it. Not to mention it goes straight to the brain, goes straight to the lungs,
Hair, skin, and nails.
sinuses.
Hair, skin, and
Oh my
nails. I've heard
dude, my
amazing
nails.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous. My nails grow. I don't even want to sound like I'm complaining, but they're growing way too fast. I have to cut them constantly.
Right.
And they're so much stronger. I used to have an issue where I would get it caught on something and my nail would get pulled back so easily. And it drove me nuts. It was painful.
Wow.
And I couldn't use my nail to like open up like a can of water or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to use your nails for, but it's such a godsend. I got to give it to the Japanese for this one. I am just grateful as all get out that they invested the time and money to make it. I mean, they needed help from their top engineers, by the way, in Japan. Like Yamaha had a hand in it, by the way. Toyota had a hand in it. G-Shock had it. I mean, all these top. The one thing that people don't understand about Japan is that their industries are not fighting against each other. They actually work together. And it's one of the most beautiful things that I've learned about the Japanese. They understand
what a concept.
Oh, dude, working together is where it's at.
That's right.
It's like, if you look at the car industry, you'll have like, Ford will say, oh, I'm going to make my own transmission. And then Chevrolet's like, I'll make my own. And then Dodge, I'll make my own. And you know how much money it costs for them to engineer just one transmission?
Such a waste, right? When they could be all working together. I know it's no wonder.
But they finally did, though,
more,
by the way.
Yeah,
it's happening a little bit. I know the Ford and Chevy finally worked on this transmission together because they're like, why would we fight against each other? Let's build something really great,
Right.
And I would love to see the world do that. And they are doing more and more of that as time goes on, but the Japanese have been doing that for a long time. And they did it with this device. And it's a beautiful thing to see if you really understand hydrogen. But obviously the world doesn't really know a lot about it yet.
Right.
But they're going to learn about it, man. And, it's going to be exciting, actually. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
I definitely see it as one of the quantum healing kind of star elements. I'm going to use the word element, star elements that will be coming to the forefront in quantum medicine and healing.
What it does for the body, even the scientists are baffled by it sometimes, to be honest. They'll look at some studies, and I don't even know if you know this, but even the world of science, they can do a study and see that hydrogen maybe, for example, has a positive effect, let's say on the prostate, for example.
Right.
And they can see that, but then, in the medical world or the scientific world, you're like, okay, well, what's the mechanism? How is it doing it? Oh, that's where they get baffled. Because, they've seen things about how it affects the NRF2 pathway. They see things on how it affects the P53 gene. They see things how it affects ghrelin. I mean, it goes on and on, but they're so baffled by it, they cannot put their finger on it. And that's when they developed that new term, which is it's a selective antioxidant, right?
Right.
That's where this term came from, because they didn't even know they can't just say it's a normal antioxidant, because it's not a normal antioxidant.
Right.
This thing's on another level.
See, this is what ended up happening with chlorine dioxide. They had to label it a selective oxidizer because they couldn't explain why it was doing this the same. And now there's a lot more science where it's breaking it down. But I see that where here's another. I mean, what's the effect of hydrogen on the mitochondria in the cell? You got four batteries. You have muscles, cells, mitochondria, and DNA. So the hydrogen seems like it's a fuel. So it supports the ATP production, and it seems like it would do nothing but be like a nitrous boost to the engine.
Dude, we are literally hydrogen machines.
Right.
The body. I mean, not just hydrogen machines. I think we're stars.
We're a gassy star.
Yeah. What are stars made of? They're made up of entirely hydrogen, basically.
Right.
And I can't wait till it actually activates in the body. I have some theories on how to do this, but that's going to be later on down the road. We'll talk more about that. But for the time being, for people to just say, hey, I want to be able to improve my health, really start running on all cylinders. I just say, look, you literally just
look right there.
Oh, Let's
I
see.
mean, it sucks because when I there it is. When I pause
Oh
it,
yeah.
I want to pause on a spot, but then it makes that thing pop up. But it
Oh,
actually they just literally showed guys. Let me see where it was. They
were they showing
showed
the
the
mitochondria?
mitochondria, yeah,
Yeah.
and they showed the ATP to the cells, all of it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely
So
right.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that was one of the first. That was one of the
there it
first things
is.
that a scientist. There it
It
is.
helps with electron transport. It makes total
Yes,
makes sense. Yes. And acetylcholine, yep, oxygen, yep. So yeah, it's literally like a nitrous boost to your engine.
it is, man. It really is.
Yeah,
And I mean, we really, really need this stuff in our bodies, and it's obvious that I actually think that with the youth that is in such poor health, a lot of obesity in the youth these days, kids are just not happy. A lot of this has to do with obviously the chemicals and that are they're ingesting the bad food and
glyphosates, the
oh, absolutely.
atrazine, all of it. I mean, gosh, I just it was one thing we were going to cover in the show today, but oh my gosh, they're finding uranium in the drinking water in a good majority of the
Oh,
states in the United States.
dude,
Oh
this
my
is why I'm
gosh,
talking about carbon
I'm
distillation.
telling you guys. Look, I just for
Oh,
perspective, we'll jump around real quick because I think it's yeah. I'm paused on my sharing, so we'll go back here real quick, guys. I just want to, because we're coming towards the end of our broadcast, anyways. Where is our picture? There it is. Okay, this is right here. Boom. I'm just gonna find this real fast. Look at this fast
and you know,
show of intel for you all. Here it is. Look at this. Okay, so unsafe levels of uranium have been detected in 2/3 of public drinking water in the United States,
yeah.
with those in the Midwest and South most at risk. But yeah, look at this map of just
And remember, I told you
uranium.
about remember PFAS in the water too, and
Say it one more time. The what?
uh, it's called PFAS. It's in over 2/3 of the water in America, and we know how that stuff is so nasty. And there's so many things in our water, and this is why again I highly, highly recommend carbon distillation because it will clean the water better than anything I've seen. It completely eliminates PFAS, completely eliminates glyphosate. It completely eliminates just about everything, including the minerals in the water, which is why I also recommend a way of remineralizing the water, you know, because you're going to need
Yes.
those minerals, but you
Yeah,
can get them in a lot of other ways. You get 80% of your minerals from your food. So,
it's true, and also yeah, there are really creative ways to mineralize your water, and
yeah.
that and there's actually all kinds. But yeah, even just looking at this, guys, look at the levels of glyphosate, uh, uh, PPBs, in just your basic stuff, guys, from Honey Cheerios, Nature Valley, all of it. This they don't care. They don't care. This has all been systematic, and
Yeah. Our water is
ultimately this is
garbage these days.
part of it is this. Look, this is a very disturbing. Look at this, guys. Okay, you think this is for coincidence? Right here, we covered this last week. Look at the Look at the generational gaps here. In this is all chemical. If you don't think this is chemical, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you guys. 0.8% in traditional, 2.6% baby boomers, 4.2 generation X. Look at the jump up. This is when a good portion of all the glyphosate was getting integrated into the food, to millennials, to Gen Z, in terms of all this gender confusion. And it's
Oh,
all
of
part
course.
of genetic damage. It's all part of chemical toxification that's led to genetic damage. And we've seen the science of it with these frog species and fish species, where a lot of these chemicals are getting dumped out in public water places, where they're turning hermaphrodite, or they're actually going same sex in their species. They're having genetic mutations down to their hormones and their sexuality. Guys, it's not a coincidence. It's not just the frogs and the fish.
And
you
this
know
is why I mean you can't avoid chemicals completely. I mean they're going to be they're everywhere these days, right?
yeah,
And this is exactly why I've been not only a huge proponent, but even myself, I use hydrogen all the time because it actually protects us from these things. That's what I've
right.
seen. I mean, we use the example of cisplatin, but I knew you should see on my videos on my YouTube channel, they're numbered. Just watch video number 8. It shows you literally in a Japanese lab how much hydrogen will protect you. In that particular video is for chemotherapy. You take the most healthiest person and put under chemo, they're going to get crazy sick.
Yep.
It's going to destroy their body. But I've
Right.
known people who've gone through chemo where they use hydrogen and they go through it like almost nothing, like
Right.
nothing's happening to them. And
Right.
that's mind blowing. There's doctors or nurses who are like, wait a second, how are you doing this? We've never seen a patient go through chemo as easy as you're going through it. And that's because the power of hydrogen. You know, hydrogen actually functions a lot like, interestingly enough, like glutathione.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I could kind of see that. Okay.
So a lot of people don't know. Again, back to the science, the majority of everybody who has cancer is depleted of glutathione. If you go through chemotherapy, you're going to be completely depleted of glutathione.
Right.
Anytime you're exposed to something that your body's trying to protect you, it's going to utilize its glutathione to protect you.
Right.
But hydrogen is, in a way, I mean, glutathione's awesome, but hydrogen functions much the same way, except you're replenishing it all the time. So if you're being bombarded with, let's say, chemo or some toxic chemical, you use your hydrogen daily, because I use it daily. I mean, who doesn't drink water daily? At least you should be,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you use it daily and it just protects you daily. And there's also data on how it shows how it will help maintain your glutathione levels to healthy levels.
Wow.
So it helps your body be strong. That's basically the gist of it.
Amazing.
It
That's
does so
amazing.
much.
Yeah.
I love the
And
stuff.
and it's funny, like I have a childhood friend. He has had you know, a long battle with stomach cancer. Actually,
Oh,
he's had chemo 28 times, I believe, if I'm correct.
oh no.
He's
He's got
younger
to
than
get on
he's
hydrogen.
younger. He's yeah, that's I was gonna say this is somebody I would love to get one of these, find a way to get one of these machines for him because he ironically he didn't lose his hair through any of
Oh,
that. Isn't
wow.
that amazing? I mean, I guess it's genetics, but at the same time, how
Yeah.
much would this help him, you know, in general? I mean, I personally wouldn't recommend the chemo. I personally think it's anti everything that's natural for the body. But if you're gonna do it, how much could that hydrogen help through the process?
Oh, it
I mean,
helps a
is it?
ton.
Yeah.
They've actually found in Japan, they found that the cancer goes away twice as fast when they use the hydrogen with the chemo. They're like, why is this happening? They're still trying to
Wow.
figure it out, but they see
Makes
it
sense.
happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so wild. We could
I'm
go on
I'm
forever, but I'm
I know
sure today we're running out of time.
I'm looking forward to like when we do have infrastructure with Matrix Biomechanics Institute. I'm looking forward to getting more scientific data on what happens when we activate the nervous system and start integrating things like hydrogen and looking at somebody that we leave their system stagnant and we introduce them to the hydrogen and then we have a test subject variable where we activate that person's nervous system and then we integrate the hydrogen. I feel like this is where I want to start exploring more data with things to see the receptivity of the inner physician and how it responds to quantum healing and utilizes it for integrating, for detoxifying, and for ultimately, resetting itself. So I
Oh
am
man,
I'm
I
super
got, I got,
stoked. Yeah, we
I
could
got,
we
I
could
got
keep
so much.
talking about it.
Yeah, I got so much other stuff to share, but I'm gonna leave it at this today because we
Yeah,
probably went a little long, and
that's all good.
but,
We're
but
gonna come back with like
we'll do it again.
an epic hydrogen exploration, guys, and we might be able to get access to a little bit more of that information because we'll be able to actually speak about it publicly by that time. So
Oh, we can talk
until
about
then,
hydrogen. No,
yeah.
nobody
Oh, I
blocks
just mean
that.
some of the cool other stuff that we
Oh, the
we
other
couldn't
stuff.
talk about publicly right now in regards to the technology itself and what's on the horizon. And so, guys, check it out if you get a chance. I'm just gonna once again, you can check out the Holy Hydrogen on the website to just look at more, check out the videos yourself, and
Look at the
all of the
science.
cool science behind it. And
Yeah.
brother Greg here, you can reach him. He's got a channel on YouTube going way deep into hydrogen and lots of other elements he's been decoding and exploring around just a lot that's hidden around health and wellness in our bodies. Yeah. What's that? What's your channel on YouTube?
Yeah, the channel's Uprising 144K.
144K.
And one of the things that I'm doing, I just started considering doing, and if people really want me to do it, comment on my videos or something, is I've seen so many things out there that I've found that are not good for your health that are claiming to be good for your health. And so I'm thinking about making videos about certain products. So that way people don't waste their money and waste their
Yep.
time on stuff that doesn't work, and share the stuff that does work. I've done enough homework to find out what does and what doesn't work.
Yes. Yes. It's like a quantum tech
Yeah,
debunking show.
exactly.
I feel like there's a necessary call for that. It's
That's what I
funny.
feel too.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, Dr. Colsa, I told you he ends up going through a lot of the quantum tech and he debunks it. And then he tells me this one is worth this one's worth investing in, or this
Yep.
one is like the equivalent of a $20,000 version, but it's only $600.
Right.
And it's funny because I've always thought someone should do a show debunking and doing that. And so I think that's a brilliant idea. And
Oh, I'm glad you like it, dude. I've been feel called to it. The reason I didn't want to do it is because I didn't want to feel like I'm bashing products or bashing companies, But I do want people to know the
the
truth.
truth is the
You know what I mean?
truth. And that's what I mean. Obviously, listen, there's a way to be truthful that's not bashing, right? And that'll be the secret formula for you, is to be like, I'm super neutral. Honestly, my overall focus is what's best in health for people. And also, here's my experience. You know what I mean? My experience is just what it is.
There you go.
I'm not going to say it's this or that. And that's one we didn't touch base on that I would really like to, which was the Kangen system, because
Oh, let's touch on that next time.
yeah,
That's a big one.
definitely would
I
like
got
to.
so much info. So much info on that.
And because a lot of it has integrated as a multi-level marketing platform for a lot of people, and a lot of people have been getting other people to spend a lot of money on these units. So I think it's very important for you to
Unnecessarily. So
explain.
unnecessarily.
Yes. And
You don't
also,
need it.
one of their things is they were claiming hydrogen too, weren't they? They were claiming an aspect
They
of,
were.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Let's touch on that. Yeah, let's do that. What do you have your shows every Monday?
yeah, so we'll get into that
Let's do that
more.
next time.
And also, if those of you that just heard what we said are like, yo, I want to know what's up with that Kangen thing right now, reach
I got
out to
videos.
Greg. He's got videos, and also you can reach out to him, and
My email is
he's
uprising144k@gmail.com. So if you guys want to
cool,
reach out, but I got videos on it if you find them on YouTube.
which is at uprising 144k as well.
Yep.
On YouTube. So again, feel free to ask them. It's important. I know I was very curious because I have a lot of friends that carry the units, and I was never
Oh, I
into them
know.
because I already had heard that although they make alkaline water, their filtration system for water was horrible. And then I heard they upgraded their models and they made a better version. And
Right.
and so everyone was hyping up, oh, it's better now. They made a better filter system. But as soon as you
No.
mentioned something the other day, I was like,
Nope. I know all about them. I know all about the Kangans. We can definitely do a show on that. We can spend an
okay.
hour there.
Cool. All right, folks. Well, that's our show. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, Greg, brother. It's just such an honor. Always. I'm really glad we pushed through and we did it. I'm going to edit the show, make it really clean, and I'll get you a version for yourself. And we'll put another version up on Rumble and on YouTube, and I'll take this one down eventually. But thank you guys for sticking with us to get into the holiness of hydrogen. And we'll be back next week, hopefully with all our technical difficulties taken care of, so to speak. So
Yeah,
on that note, yeah, exactly. I know it's a total burn when you put so much into it, and
I know, man.
just the preparation for it and everything is what it is. So I'm gonna let's see, shut our cameras off somehow. Where's mine? Boom. Stop videos. There we go. We're back to here, guys. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Aloha and Satnam.
I was doing the pee pee dance.
Yes.
I drink all that water.